What is up, everybody? On this Mileage Unknown, I'm going to do something just a little different, but we are going to take a look at all the different shifters Travis and I have interacted with on our Volkswagens, and I want you guys to put in the comments below what is your favorite shifter for your Volkswagen. I'm going to flip you around. We're going to take a look at the cars that are here at Trav's place and the shifters that are in them, and when I get back home, I'm going to look at the shifters I have in the garage and the shifter in Pop's car and the fastback. We are in Trav's 55, and Trav is running a vintage speed shifter. He's had this one in the car for quite some time, and it made all the difference in the world for him. Originally, Trav's car had a stock shifter that had been cut down with one of the shift shortener plates underneath it, and it just always seemed to fight him in finding the gears. Now the vintage speed shifter has a pretty tight pattern, but it has a nice positive feel throughout. I actually really like a lot of the vintage speed shifters and might end up with one in one of the cars at some point. They can be kind of pricey, but they have a nice cool look. He went with one that has just a simple shift pattern on the knob, not too shabby. Now we're over in Speedy, the 73 thing. Now Speedy, I'm not sure what Speedy has, honestly. I think it's a stock shifter, but the plate looks different than what I'm used to, but it's also a thing. But I think it does have some sort of quick shifter kit in it, because if you look, the throw isn't that bad. It feels very positive compared to some of the ones we've had in the past. Some of the stock shifters, which we'll get to see in Pop's 56 and in Penelope, the 66 fastback, have a lot of movement compared to this. So we haven't wanted to take this out or do anything with it because it feels so nice. But yeah, it appears to be a stock shifter with maybe some sort of quick shift plate in it. So here we are out in the junkyard, and you can see Bugley, the 69. That's kind of a Franken bug. We still have the rolled over 65 and haven't decided what to do with it yet. And unfortunately, since I brought it down here, the Cornet has just sat. But that's not what we're looking at today. We're going to get into Bugley here and take a look at Bugley's shifter. So Bugley has one of the Empi trigger shifters that's modeled after the Hurst shifter. It looks like my chrome skull head has lost some thread, so I might have to do something there. Now, me personally, I've always liked these shifters. They have a good heavy feel to them. The reverse lockout switch makes it nice. I don't know, I'm always playing with that trigger going down the road, but these shifters can be had pretty inexpensively. They have a cool look. They generally come with just a black knob on the top. But I do have a couple Hurst versions so we can get a little bit better look. It's not a crazy short throw on these ones, but compared to some of the stock shifters, it's a huge improvement in feel, because it feels so nice and positive compared to some of the ones where you feel like you're got a spoon and mashed potatoes trying to find gears. On to the shifter in Penelope, which this is the original shifter in my 66 fastback. And you can see, compared to the aftermarket shifters, I just pulled it into second and actually hit the emergency brake. We have a much larger throw, and even once you're in gear, look at how much flop there is. Now, mind you, I haven't looked at the shift coupler itself, and maybe the shift coupler in this car does need to be replaced. It's quite possible. It's super old, and that would help with some of the slop. but I have had many of VWs with stock shifters that felt just like Penelope here. Just a big, crazy, long throw and a lot of slop even once you're in gear. Now we're on to the shifter in Pop's 56. Now this shifter actually came out of the rolled over 65. Pop's car had a shifter we'll take a look at in a second here that Pop's actually really, really loved. Now, no matter what we did with aftermarket shifters in Pop's 56, we had issues. I don't know if it's because of the adapter plate we had to use to run the transmission out of the 65, but all of the aftermarket shifters we had issues. Now, strangely, this stock shifter does still have a pretty long throw, but it's not crazy horrible. It has a little bit less slop than obviously the Fastback did, but you can tell it's not as tight as like the Vintage Speed or the Empi shifter that was in Bugley. But I think it had just enough slop to actually function with that adapter plate for the trans, whereas all the aftermarket shifters are so tight they didn't have enough slop to actually work like we needed them to. All right, so these are going to be the last three shifters we take a look at. You can see I have a couple of the original Hurst shifters. These are the shifters that Empi shifter is modeled after. You can see, like I said, the chrome ones just came with a standard ball. This one needs a little repair work. Now this one actually is fairly a bit more rare. It's a copper one. See, this one also needs some repair work, which I believe some of the guys on the Samba actually make a plate or can kind of restore these. I actually want to use this shifter in Bugley at some point, so I'll have to do something there. This was the shifter that was in Pop's 56 when he first bought it. But you can kind of see how the reverse lockout works. Instead of like a standard Volkswagen pushing down and over for reverse, you're going to pull up on the trigger for that reverse lockout. I love the look of this original copper Hurst. It's just weathered, old, and beaten, and would be perfect in Bugley. So this one will live to fight another day. Now I believe, at least on the Empi ones, they had some straight up ones instead of ones with the angle. You can get them for buses and some of the other models. I don't know about the Hurst, if all the Hurst ones were angled or if they had some straight up ones. I really like the angled ones personally myself. Now, on to Pop's favorite shifter. Pop's favorite shifter is the Scat Dragfast shifter. I think it's just because he liked the way the T-handle fit his hand. Now, this one, same kind of deal, has a reverse lockout that's a pull-up trigger with a T-handle instead of like the Empi ones. But the other thing I think Pop's really liked about this one is how short that throw actually was on this one. It was super tight. I mean, it's almost wrist. I mean, it's almost all wrist action to actually go from gear to gear. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it to work in Pop's 56. I think it has to do with the adapter plate we had to run to put that other transmission in. But I might do some playing around again to see if I could actually get it to work, because Pop's did love the Scat Dragfast. So that's going to be all the shifters that we take a look at that Trav and I have actually interacted with. And I want to know in the comments below, what is your favorite Volkswagen shifter? What's running in your car right now? Let me know. That's going to be it for this Mileage Unknown. Stay tuned for more car shenanigans.